It's a straight shootout between the four most exciting players in the world. Semi-finals night of the PartyBets.com Premier League from the AECC here in Aberdeen. Coming up, Ding Junhui has already made 12 century breaks in the competition, faces Scotland's world champion John Higgins, and 7-time world champion Stephen Hendry meets the reigning Premier League champion Ronnie O'Sullivan. Best of 9 frames at this stage of the competition. Your commentators Willie Thorne and Phil Yates.
Thanks, Dave. 21. Well, he was stretching awkwardly. It wasn't a bad pot. Trusted to luck somewhat. Although he could see the black, he could not see it to pot it. Didn't want the secondary kiss either. That's why the cue ball isn't in bulk.
There's nothing possible on the top of the pyramid there. I don't know whether he can get through to the one to the left of the black spot. If he can, he'll play the pot on that one. Played as a shot to nothing. Needs a bounce with the cue ball here, otherwise he'll go nothing. Good opening red that, played as a shot to nothing. He's probably wishing now he hadn't have gone in because there's no advantage. Here's the pot, you see, made sure he didn't make contact with the pink in the taking the cue ball back in the baulk. So no attempt at the brown in the middle, just a little safety shot.
If you this from the start of the PartyBets.com Premier League back in September, you'll know that in the qualifying phase all matches were 6 frames. Now tonight it's a little more conventional. It's best of 9 frames, and that means the number of timeouts have been just slightly increased. Normally it's 5 timeouts allowed in any one match. Tonight it's 6.
This red will pot, and he may be able to screw back. Amazingly enough, he might be able to bring the pink into play here. He'll just try to flick the pink there, but he's okay. He's got the blue in the middle. Could play it into the top corner pocket, of course, by just stunning off the cushion and being on choice of reds. Played that very nicely. Well, one shot played very nicely. One shot not quite so nice, so he's going to have a little bit of work to do with the cue ball here. Play in between green and brown, 2 cushions, and probably try and break into the reds. A lot of right-hand side. There's the 1 cushion, there's the 2, and just a little bit too wide. Even though there's loose reds there, it's always favourable from that kind of position to play into the bunch because it's such a big target. It'd be very difficult not to make contact with the bunch there.
Engine weight 12.
Taking the cut on here, but he'll be making sure he hits it too thin rather than too thick to make sure he gets the cue ball back into baulk. Always play to overcut those, and then at least you know that whatever happens, you're getting a good cue ball. This frame's not took off yet, has it? Nothing going right for either player.
Yes, and before this, the black was awkward. After the shot, so is the blue.
Little surprise here, John's not playing the safety shot off the black.
John Higgins,
where the pack of reds are, there's no real advantage in playing that shot. You'd expect Ding Junhui to find a path somehow to get onto the reds.
Time out.
Ding takes his first timeout entirely reasonably.
Yes, I put a line up there. The first line has not come on your telestrator from the cue ball, but that's the kind of line the red he'd like to play for. The only problem with playing a loose red is, of course, you can leave it on, so he may decide to try and play into the pack, but I can't see a line where he can get into the side of the pack. He's looking at going around the back of the blue now off the two cushions, and that's even more difficult there to play into there. The blue seems to be in the way playing that way. There's the line that goes straight through the middle of the blue, so how's he going to miss the blue? He may just be able to get inside the blue, and he's trying to rest on those. Oh, he's played this nicely, just a little bit too hard. He got away with it, I think he has.
Ideal line, but it was a fiery off that second cushion. If he's not left anything, he's fortunate.
Just got to avoid the kiss on the black here with the safety shot, and he's done that. For me, he's the best all-round player in the game, John Higgins. I'm not saying that he's the best break builder in the game, he's not, but he's certainly, as far as the all-round game is concerned, I put him up there with the Davises of this world of old. Magnificent safety player.
And it's not really something that he's grown into. He was very tactically aware when he was a teenager.
Yes, it's an art, isn't it? I mean, most of the games these days are played very, very aggressively. People tend to think you've got to make 70 every shot, and that's sometimes why Ronnie O'Sullivan gets a bit upset. He seems to think he's playing bad if he doesn't make at least 60 every shot. There's other parts of the game. Long potting is one of them, and there is a prime example of that. Played as a shot to nothing right into the heart of the pocket. Doesn't fancy the yellow, so just the safety shot again. So this frame is not really taken off yet.
John Higgins 1.
At least the black's into play now. Well, he's looking at the one cushion escape and trying to clip the reds to go back into baulk, but you can catch these thick. This could go wrong. Oh, that's excellent. That is top draw. Well played. This was excellent. I'm just a little concerned about the cushions at the moment. Look where that cue ball's finished. It seemed to take off that baulk cushion, so I don't know whether the cushions are bouncing slightly. It is the first match, of course. The table have only been erected probably this morning, maybe yesterday afternoon. Usually when the tables are a little bit cold, of course, they take a little bit of time to bed in. They're not always going to be perfectly the same strength off every cushion. That's an excellent safety shot. Excellent.
It was always going to be a little smelly for John Higgins, but the fact that the white caught the black has made it even more so.
Keep an eye on this top cushion now to see if this bounces quicker. I do think it's springing quite a lot off that, and that's a great reply. Well, he can see a red, so there's no need to play the off two cushions. That he's going to have to play a little bit of check side here to straighten the white up. Doesn't want to avoid the kiss on those two reds at the bottom. Well, that's a poor shot. He'll do well to get away with that. Well, he's got away with it. Can you believe it? Wow.
Dare I say it, a Chinese snooker.
I don't know whether John's going to risk the... There is a gap in between those reds there. The four reds to the right of it, there's a gap in between those. The in-off in the middle is a slight problem. He is playing the pot. Ding Junhui very, very fortunate there to have got away with that.
Still though, with the cue ball so close to the side cushion, straight cue delivery needed here.
Needs a kiss, otherwise he'd be on nothing. Has it pulled up in time? Can he get to the potting angle of the yellow without imparting any unwanted side? I think not.
One of those infuriating frames for both of them where the ball is just conspiring against positional play.
Yeah, it's a clever shot that, no attempt at the pot, and I think he's covered enough of the red to get to the potting angle. You can see this red, can he pot it? Looks the way he's cueing, he can. Maybe, maybe not, can't quite tell from that camera angle. This is the first real chance. I mean, okay, the pink's going to be in play very quickly. That's what he'll need to get onto the remaining 6 reds, 7 reds if this goes in. Wow, these cushions are flying. That came off very, very quickly. Interesting to see how this bounces off the top cushion, because if he probably playing it, or he could hold it. I thought he was a little bit too thin to hold it.
Seven. Eight.
We know that Ronnie O'Sullivan has produced some outstanding performances in this tournament
14.
over the years. Same applies with Stephen Hendry and various other players also, but I'd hazard a guess and to say that from a purely objective viewpoint,
15.
Ding's display in whitewashing Stephen Hendry 6-0 last week, can't imagine just how anyone could play any better.
Yes, he's a class act, the boy, when he's playing well Ding Junhui. There would no need to do it here, and he probably won't risk it, but he'd like to get up on the pink here and screw just past the face of the black. That's what he'd like to do here, so he's just nicely on the pink. And that's a clever shot, because what he has done now is left an angle on the pink.
22.
He may be hampered, the black could be in his way as far as being able to stretch over the tail. He may have to use the rest. Yes, he doesn't like stretching over the black, he's looking at an alternative. I can't quite see a red that's potable here. Those must be a plant, the 2 reds just below the black spot. I can only presume they must be what he thinks is an easy plant, but where the cue ball is, this plant is not easy.
25.
Yes, visible distance between the 2 reds. At this stage of the game, risky.
Yes, I'm not sure whether he'll play this. I think he's playing a safety shot off the one at the back of the cushion there. Well, he did take it on. That's a great shot. It was very, very tough to play.
26.
Not only had he got to play the plant, he'd got to avoid the cannon on the other reds, and that was excellent.
And if he nestles in behind the yellow here, what a snooker this will be to hit. Are playing off the yellow in behind the blue. Same thing applies. .31 points the lead, 51 points on the table, and Higgins in considerable trouble.
Playing the slow swerve here, and if he goes through the middle of the first 2 reds, he could push the other red over the corner. And he's gone through the middle of them just. I think he'll be quite pleased with that. He's left a choice of pots on, but none of which are easy. Oh, no attempt at the pot there, deciding that the safety was a better choice. Game's still well alive. He's only 31 points behind John Higgins with 51 remaining. Well, there's an example of an excellent safety shot under pressure.
We talked about Higgins's win, a crucial win, as it turns out, over Ding at Grimsby in the qualifying stage. Higgins didn't score particularly heavily that night, only a couple of half-century breaks, but in these tight tactical frames, he tended to have the upper hand.
Yes, I think if he played 10 tactical frames on the trot against Ding Junhui, you'd expect him to win at least 7, so it just shows how important the tactical side can be. You take this on. Well, 2 excellent long pots, one earlier on where he played it nicely for a cut-up. This time he's got a chance to win the frame if this was it. The beauty of this shot, of course, was making sure you got nicely on the pink. Could decide to play on the more difficult of the 2 reds here rather than the easy red, just to make the chance of winning the frame at one visit a little easier, and that's perfect.
7.
I suppose you could say the yellow was a wee bit awkward, but the only colour really that should pose a problem would be the black.
Yeah, I think if the yellow was, sorry, the green was on its spot, the yellow would be difficult. The fact that the green's off its spot makes the positional side a little bit easier. I'd agree with you, Phil, if the green was on its spot. But it's certainly his favourite to win the frame here at this visit. Whether he will do or not, it's quite awkward.
Just took a
14.
sneaky look at the scoreboard there. The good news for Higgins, if he can clear down to the pink,
15.
he won't need the awkwardly placed black.
I'm surprised actually he played for the pink there, because he's got a long way to travel with his cue ball now. Thought he played for blue or brown off that. But he couldn't have played this better. This is first class. What a great position shot this is. Didn't want to be straight there.
21.
10 behind, so from here, yellow to pink clearance will do.
Well, he couldn't have placed that white better by hand, could he?
23.
Absolutely perfectly. The best shot of the match so far, pink to yellow. There's certainly been no fireworks in this
26.
frame, but there has been some excellent safety and a couple of good long pots from John Higgins to keep him in this frame.
Yes, and winning a frame in this manner will do more for his psychological well-being than had he won it with a routine 80-odd break.
Yes, he hasn't been in the frame at all, has he, until he knocked that good long red in, and the rest of the clearance has been first class.
35.
Frame ball. It would be overstretching it to say that John Higgins was off to a flyer. It was quite a scrappy frame. The end game of the world champion was superior.
Frame 3. John Higgins to break.
Remember, as in the league phase of the tournament, it's 25 seconds per shot allowed. If you exceed that time, it's a 5-point penalty. Each player has 6 timeouts in the semi-finals over the best of 9 frames. Both players have taken 2 each so far. And you're not allowed any more than 3 timeouts in any one frame.
Well, he's not played a good safety shot there, so this is a tempter for John. He's got a very good record at long pot so far this evening, especially this kind of shot. This is worth the risk, and I may decide to play it aggressively. What I mean by that is he's not necessarily going to play to get a good white. Yeah, he's played it nicely, that. Made sure he was low on the black, so he wasn't leaving anything too easy for Ding Junhui. Always tends to push the boat out a little bit, but I don't blame him for taking this one on, should he decide to. It's an easy safety shot. Just play that shot remarkably there and hold the cue ball beautifully.
It's such a sweet contact, isn't it?
It's a plain ball shot. Years ago you used to have to play those with a bit of a helping side, i.e. on that shot, a little bit of right hand side to get the pace on the cue ball, but the tables are so beautiful now that plain ball is always the way to play those. Anybody watching, if you can develop that shot, you think that kind of shot you're almost wanting to play with the right hand side. Try and make yourself hit it plain ball. You still get the same reaction off the second cushion.
Yes, the natural composition of the balls themselves has changed a lot over the years. Of course, in the early days of snooker, the balls were made of ivory. Apart from being politically incorrect, they were extremely difficult to manoeuvre.
Yeah, John Spencer was the first player I've ever seen play a long screw shot. Now, of course, every player in the game plays it. Of course, they were crystallate virtually when John started playing them, the late, great John Spencer. Now every player is capable of screwing the cue ball the full length of the table.
12.
Well, if Ding goes on to lose this frame, he'll be kicking himself because he's in first again. He's been in first in the opening 2 frames, lost them both. Needs to make this
13.
one count.
Before the start of the semi-finals, quite clearly, and for every justification, Ronnie O'Sullivan was favourite, but I saw Ding offered it 3-1, which I thought was quite good value considering how well he'd played in the vast majority of his previous matches in the tournament. But recovering from 2-0 down to beat a player of Higgins' calibre, that's no mean feat.
The one to the extreme left of the pack will pot in between black and red, so he can play this just to roll it in plain ball. Mind the way he's queuing, he may be playing a holding shot for one in the corner. Yes, he was. He may run this too far, though. He needs a bit of help here. And that was a poor shot.
26.
No chance of the plant. The one at the back of the bunch will pot, but he's going to have to stun through the red to get onto the black into the same pocket. Not a certainty, this one. Well done.
27.
Yes, for a moment I thought that secondary red might come back off the top cushion and thwart position on the black. Not so.
And we know that the red to the extreme left of those 3, the one in the middle of the 3 on the left, will pot, so he can just play this on and off the cushion. Because this is the red he played for on the last visit, so he's a little bit lucky to get that alternative red in the corner. This is the red he played for on the previous visit.
34.
I remember going back years ago when Ding Junhui first came over to this country, Phil, and he used to practice with Peter Ebdon. And Peter Ebdon said to me, there's 35. A young kid just come over from China, he's going to be one of the best in the world. And you always think, yeah, just because he's beating you in practice, you always kind of think players are better than they really are, but this guy is the real deal.
Well, I'll say this right here and now, without fear of any comeback. If he were to win the World Championship at the Crucible next year, it would be the best possible result for the overall future of snooker.
42.
How many foreign players do we have on the tour now, Phil? Because I know that there's been an influx of Chinese players.
43.
Well, you've got Liu Song, Tian Pengfei, Liang Wenbo, all good cueists, all going up the rankings at a pretty rapid rate. Recently, the World Amateur Championship has been concluded in Thailand, in Korat.
50.
And the winner was a Thai, Atasit Mahiti, so more than likely he'll be back on the main tour next year.
51.
Which is more like the Ding Junhui we've seen in the most part of this league format, where he scored very, very heavily when in the balls. It all depends whether the bottom one of the cluster of reds will pot in the left-hand corner, because this
58.
appears to be the last of the loose reds. If the bottom one of that cluster pots in the left-hand corner, you won't have to get an angle on the blue to break into them.
59.
That tells me that that red would be available, but will he nudge it another red in its way here? He's got to be careful here. He's going to be nudging a red out here. Oh, he's played that nicely. And that should be frame over now.
65.
You know, he's made 14 century breaks in competition this season, Ding. 12 of them in this tournament.
Yes, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I was disappointed with the way he's played in the ranking events this year. But in the league, as you rightly say, he's been awesome.
66.
Well, what did he play for there? The pink doesn't pot. That was a miscalculation. I think he must have thought the pink potted. This is frame ball.
See, I told you he was good at those rescue blues.
71.
If you only got one out of every two you played, you
72.
wouldn't win the match.
Well, the frame is well and truly in Ding's
77.
pocket. Whether he'll go on to make a century break has been cast into doubt. It's still in doubt, despite that touch of genius.
Once again, that was a flyer off the cushion there. Played it perfectly, that shuttle. Should have been perfectly on the black there when it went in, but he's still going, and now the century is looming large.
'84.
Good performance this, because he could have let his head go down a bit. The fact that he should have won the opening two frames and lost them both.
'92.
A possible 135
'93.
available. We've said he's made 12 centuries in the tournament, and remarkably, 6 of those have been over 130.
Oh, there's another century, and I would hazard a guess that might be a record in tournament play, Philip, but I know you don't know the answer to that.
100.
This time, just a plain old boring century. Yet another one to Ding Junhui. 13 in the tournament, and this one came at exactly the right time. He trails though, 2-1.
Fourth frame. Ding Junhui to break.
there is a gap in between pink and black, but it has to be played good. This, he could kiss the red if he's not careful. He's concentrated so hard on the gap, and that's a poor shot. It could be 2 each in a minute, the way that Ding's just started playing.
Yes, the most essential ingredient to success against Ding is to knock him out of a rhythm, or at least keep him out of one.
Another one right into the heart of the pocket, and doesn't have the angle on the green to go into the bunch, so he played for choice of 2 reds here. See if he overhits it, he's on the one in the middle. If he underhits it, like he has, then he's on the one in the corner. Just checking to see whether there's any more reds available into the corner, because that will decide whether he's got to leave an angle on a colour to bring other reds into play. If the one at the back of the bunch will pot, he'll just play for the black.
5.
Looks like he's played for the pink this time, because that means he can hold the spot and be on those choice of reds. And this is, once again, determines what shot he plays here, whether that red will pot at the back of the bunch. And well, I think the middle one will go, though, the angle we saw there. So
11.
he could play on the black, so it's key here he doesn't get a straight on the black, leaves himself an angle.
12.
So he's got to decide now whether he can get on both reds or just one of them. Ideally he'd like to be on the middle of the 3 reds that are loose, purely because he can bring another 2 reds into play.
19.
And that's what he has done. So just flick a couple of reds into play and still be on the black.
20.
He'd have been disappointed not to have seen another red come out there. Nothing pushed out there, was there? They all kind of went into a little circle. Be a good snooker, wouldn't it, if you put the white in the middle of that circle, Phil? That is if you're going for a colour, of course.
28.
Yes, it would be sort of corralled.
Looks like he can only play on the red that's loose, and then he's going to have to go up for the blue, because it's not a great pack from to pot it from the black. If you can get on the half-ball blue, they're just going to be perfect. He'll push reds to both left and right corner.
35.
Well advanced into frame number 4, 97% success rate for Ding. A convincing number. 86 for Higgins. Anytime they drop below 90, they're not pleased, and yet it's the Scot who's currently leading.
Hasn't got an angle to stun down into them, so may have to go around 2 cushions. Yeah, I didn't think it was on off one, actually. I thought he was going to stun it off 2 cushions.
41.
There's the replay where he missed the pack. I've just, when we get a chance to show you the angle I thought he would have played, I thought he'd have played that way, 2 cushions into them, but he decided to try it off 1 cushion.
Engine weight 41.
But what an excellent safety shot.
Yes, if you're going to drop out of position, surrender control of the cue ball, the next best thing is to say, OK, fair enough, break over, just get my opponent in trouble, and that's what Ding almost did.
Just shows you, doesn't it, for when you've been kept off the table for a while, how it can knock you out of sync. John Higgins kept picking up all the pieces in the first 2 frames, and Ding Junhui's made breaks of 141, and now Higgins looks out of form.
it's really heavy odds on that he's going to draw level at 2 frames each.
And then I suppose you want to take the 3-1 again, will you?
6. 7. 14. 15.
Of course, Ding qualified for the Premier League playoffs last season, and a very unfortunate clash of dates meant that the Chinese authorities insisted on him travelling to the Asian Games in Doha, where he completed the hat-trick of gold medals
22.
in singles, doubles and team snooker. Didn't just affect this tournament,
23.
it also meant that he flew back and had to rush his preparation for the UK Championship. No such disruption this time. And I think this season we're going to see make a significant
30.
breakthrough.
I've been impressed with Ding this evening. You know, he should have won the first 2 frames, didn't do. But he's won the next 2 frames in style. So John Higgins, I'm sure he knew before the match started he was going to be in for a tough game. He knows now.
36. 36 and the frame goes away.
It's all level, 2 each.
And Higgins to break.
A little earlier, Willie, you talked about the innovation of the 25-second shot clock and the benefits of that. Another innovation in this particular match, and indeed the other semi-final, no interval after 4 frames, and for me, that's the way forward.
Yeah, but it can work both ways, can't it? I think John Higgins at this moment in time would like an interval. You know, so sometimes they come in your favour and sometimes they don't. Ding Junhui, of course, now he's found his form, will be delighted there's no interval. So I suppose you can look at it 2 ways. I was always a believer I'd rather carry on than have an interval, to be honest. 15 minutes after 4 frames. I think years ago when 4 frames may have took, you know, when you were playing, Phil, a couple of hours, you know. And now, of course, 4 frames is usually about, you know, half an hour, 3/4 of an hour.
I must tell you folks, Willie Thorne has got a dodgy knee at the moment and a little bit of a sore ankle, and I think he's taking it out on me. Keep having these little digs. And of course I can't get my own back because he was the world number 7, he's won world ranking events, and I can't really say a lot to that.
I wasn't slow either, was I? So I mean, at intervals I used to get frustrated sometimes with intervals.
I just think the crowd gets generally frustrated by them. They want to see play go on. I think players don't want to hang around backstage for 15 minutes doing nothing but staring at the walls. For me, intervals, they're outdated.
No, I think the black has just come to his rescue. This red won't pass the black. Cushion first, I suppose there's a slight chance. I think the black's just too far away from the pocket. From that angle it looks like he could play the in-off, but I think it's just too far away from the pocket to make that a certainty. Is he playing it? Well, he was playing it in off the black. It didn't go direct, so he's definitely playing off the black, and if he's left this red cuttable, it's a poor shot. He's coming around to look at the potting angle, so it looks like he's going to take it on. And this is one of those we were talking about earlier in commentary. If you play to hit these thin, because if he hits this slightly other than the potting angle, he'll cannon into those 2 reds at the right of the bunch. So they're the 2 reds he's got to avoid. See, that's the problem. That's where you've got to overclip them at all times.
Yes, good shout. Black being over the top right-hand pocket as we look, obviously, to Higgins' benefit. But he's been fortunate to come out as he has. And Ding was fortunate there to catch the near jaw of the middle pocket as opposed to the far one.
That little kiss has helped. I know he can see numerous reds, but what he has done is covered the left-hand side of the pack, which means the safety shot is a lot more difficult. Be careful, doesn't knock the black in here with a shot. Can't believe he's played it that way. He needs a bit of help. That was a really poor shot. Nothing else could happen than the red go into the black there, so he'd got to play it at pace if he was going to play it that way.
And after being frozen out for 2 frames, just the kind of gift that Higgins would have craved.
Can't quite tell from here whether the black spot's covered, because the black will go on the yellow if it is, or the pink might be available. The black spot is obviously covered, so, and the pink spot as well. Now, whichever of these 2 red pots, he ideally wants to pot the one that's on the black spot, just purely because then if he plays for the pink, he can get the pink back into play. That's the reason he's not played for the pink this time, because he's left that red on the black spot, so that's the one he must get rid of this time. And now he can play up for the pink if he wants to, you see, and then the pink will go on the black spot and is in a position to score heavily.
14. And
because he's freed the black spot straight away, John Higgins has gone straight up for the black, and that's an excellent shot.
Yes, I think the red on the bottom.
The black's not available in the right-hand corner, so
22.
He's going to have to play out for blue or pink here. Always overhit these. Rather be on the green than be the wrong side of the blue. And that's why he's overhit that, but he's overhit it far too much. He's concentrating so hard on getting an angle on the blue that he's overhit that.
And now dropping on the red close to the black will require delicacy.
Still not a good chance this, because he's got another good shot to play here. Needs to get an angle on a colour. This appears to be the last of the loose reds.
Sure. 29.
If he hits the middle of the 3 reds, he'll be on nothing. So he has to hit the outside one of the 3 there. If he can hit that one half ball,
Just a little too thin, the contact, but at least he's got
36.
a red down the rail. And in fact, he spied a plant. Distance over between the 2 reds. And so, all things considered, well judged. Opened up 3 more in the process.
hasn't he worked hard for this break? And he's still not out of the woods yet. There you can see he hasn't got much of an angle on this black. I played that nicely.
.44. 45.
This is the key positional shot here, because if he gets on a red nicely, it will open another red.
.52.
Good performance this, as Phil mentioned earlier, been frozen out, not scored a point in the previous 2 frames. And this is the art, when you do get a chance, you've got to score heavily.
53.
Well, if you remember the World Championship final against Mark Selby, Higgins seemingly in total control. Selby came back. Higgins, in trying circumstances, had the resilience to push on again. Found a second
58.
win.
I thought for a moment he covered everything up there, but there you see a gap's appeared, and he's
59.
a little bit fortunate to get that gap, to be honest. We had a century in the previous frame from Ding Junhui. Sorry, not in the previous frame, in frame 3. This is now frame 5, and this is a chance for John Higgins to get a century on the board.
66.
For me, this has been the break of the match so far.
67.
We told you that Ding had made 12 centuries in the league section of the tournament. John Higgins made only 3.
Crowd applause. Tells you that was frame ball.
74. 75. 82. 83.
The 3 most recent frames have been won without the losing player scoring a point. Now that's usually an indication in snooker that the standard is high. Exactly what you'd expect.
Could take the opportunity here of bringing the red into play. He'll
90.
definitely do that if the angle's there, because he's got choice of pink or black. Just got to catch it a half ball. Or of course it quarter ball.
91.
Not certain to get onto a red here. Try and drop behind the red off 2 cushions in between green and brown. Needs a bit of side. Now has he got enough on? Not quite. Deserves a century.
96.
Good pot needed.
And good pot produced.
And left a beautiful angle on the pink to try and nudge the red that's safe over the corner pocket. Very well played. Excellent snooker.
103.
Avid Celtic fan John Higgins wasn't too happy when
104.
they conceded a late penalty today and only drew 1-1 with Hearts. Doesn't want a double sporting disappointment on this Saturday. And after being confined to his chair for the previous 2 frames, this is
107.
a break of the highest order.
Yes, I was wondering how John
109.
Higgins would get back into the match, because I thought he looked completely out of sorts when he went from 2-0 in front to 2 each and played a couple of bad safeties, missed a couple of long pots. What a reply this has been.
112.
Doesn't really want to take a time out here because he doesn't want to lose one in a frame that doesn't really mean anything now he's won it. That's why he was rushing a little bit, because he didn't want to waste a time out in a middle of a century break.
116.
No total clearance, but all things considered, mission well accomplished. He was 2-0 ahead, it went 2 each, but now Higgins is back in front, and he did it impressively.
Into frame 6, we join the action with Ding at the table, but trailing 11 points to 31, and in the middle of a safety battle.
Good safety there, though. That will improve the stats. That's an excellent safety. He may have left this touching more, and if he has, this is a very easy chance to get in behind the yellow off 2 cushions.
Well, when you're playing away from a red, you can virtually choose your spot.
What was it called? Not called touching? Oh, it was. I thought he was playing off the red there. I'm going to say it was so easy to get in behind the yellow.
Now, this isn't the common or garden snooker where the pack is tightly together. Has to be careful.
He has an angle on this red. He may decide to risk potting this red. If he can avoid playing what we call a push shot, he might just play this dead weight. Doesn't fancy it though, because he could have got nicely on the black. Just got to make sure he doesn't cannon into the brown or green with the cue ball in playing this safety shot. He did cannon the green, but thin enough not to cause any damage.
Now that's as good as a fluke.
Yes, I think the one just behind the pink will probably pot, but I agree with you, Phil. It was a poor safety shot and did very well not to leave anything straightforward. I think there's just enough of this red sticking out to pot it. The table 20 points behind.
1.
Is nicely on the black. Chance to level again.
Yes, when your opponent makes a real hash of a shot and leaves nothing easy, there's a tendency to think the world's against you. And yet Ding, his concentration was good. It was a tough opening red, and he knocked it in as though it was quite simple.
He plays this at pace. He's got to make sure he doesn't catch it too thin. He'd like to hit the reds full if he plays it at pace. Yes, you see that was always going to be the problem playing at that pace. Hitting them thin, you can push reds into the way of one another. So this is not
16.
a chance to win the frame at this visit, where the balls are at the moment. He's going to have to make something happen. Purposely playing
17.
to finish high on this black, and there again the cue ball has taken off the cushion. Could be a blessing, of course, if he pots the black, but if he misses it, he'll be ruining the bounce he had off the cushion. Yeah, they've both now missed a ball purely because of the cushions bounced.
Engine way 17.
So John Higgins was from a kick, wasn't he, when he missed the black? That was from a bounce off the cushion.
Took the pot on, and now he might well pay the consequences.
Isn't it funny, in your own mind, when you're playing that kind of shot, you think, yes, I'll play the pot, but I'm not going to miss it far jaw. If I hit it near jaw, I can get away with it. If I hit it far jaw, it makes you look like you played the wrong shot.
What?
But he did play that as a shot to nothing, but he just caught it too thick.
Vital frame this, and this is a vital juncture of it.
It's all about the angle he gets on black or pink here to Ideally, you'd like to
8.
kiss the middle of the 3 reds that are on the cushion, which of course would bring all 3 reds into play. So he's going to get the half ball angle on the next black. And now play the cannon into the middle one of those 3, but as long as you don't kiss it full ball and get a double kiss, you need to bring it on and off the cushion. And that's perfect. Well played.
16.
Now this time, A position, B the pot, both will test.
Yes, it's virtually end of break. I don't think he can do anything here but play a shot to nothing off this next red. If it pots in by the black, he may take the pot on, but safety will be his prime objective here. 21 points in front, so still 43 on the table.
Engine way 24.
Bad red, but good white. If the potting angle takes him between black and red, he'll play it, but he can't quite see enough of it, so just the safety. Cross double is a possibility here. Keep an eye on the red. You can get the cue ball in behind the blue and green without a problem. You may cross double the red in the corner here. Oh, black's come to his rescue. He'd have liked to have got the cue ball tight on the port cushion. Oh, can John Higgins find one of his specials here in behind blue and green? Nope.
It will do though.
Even though there's 21 points in it, you would have to fancy whoever potted the next red would go on to win the frame. So this is a key point in this frame. Anything but full ball that Higgins will be looking for here. That's too much side. Didn't play it that way. He's got away with it though.
Early in this frame we were talking about the safety success rate. There was a 20% difference. It was Higgins 90%, Ding 70. The gap is closing.
Yes, he has played 3 or 4 shots, John, hasn't he, and kissed bought colours and on the way back. Well, a better white, but unfortunately for him, a red's come into play, and he'll certainly take it on. Just having a look at the scoreboard, he may decide to play for pink or black here because he knows that getting on the last red is a slight problem. There's no real value in either the pink or black here because he can't get onto the red. If he fancied the yellow and could reach it, the yellow is the easiest shot to get on the red. You're going to have to try and get just closer to the red. Can't get perfect on this red.
So 29 points in front, 35 on the table.
8.
Ding needs one more ball.
Well, it's all about missing the kiss on brown and yellow with the red here. He can definitely get a good cue ball by hitting this red full in the face, leaving the cue ball on the baulk cushion, but must miss the cannon on brown and yellow with the red. And he's done that. Mind you, he's hit it too hard, hasn't he? Look at this for a shot.
8.
Oh, Ding. Hit the red far too hard. Great shot. Yellow to green is the key. Needs to be on a half ball yellow here to have any possibility at all in getting onto the green. Not quite, but he can stun on and off the
7.
cushion. Such an easy snooker, Phil. Would you play to get on the green to plot it, or play to leave the snooker?
I think I know what John's going to do. Go for the jugular.
9.
That was tremendous pace control, but needs another good shot here.
Oh, that's a beautiful shot.
12.
This will hurt Ding Junhui because he knows he should be levelling at 3-all. And now John Higgins, albeit should have won the frame really earlier on when he broke down on the break of 20 odd when he was in the balls nicely. Still got a bit of work to do though. Blue to pink, not guaranteed to get perfect position. Needs all three. Taking a time out as you would expect in this situation.
Yes, that's only 3 of a permissible 6. And if he can pot blue, pink and black, the next frame might be the last frame.
Choice here. Do you play at one cushion, run it in plain ball, or do you play 2 cushions with just avoid the corner pocket? I think 2 cushions is the way players like to play them these days because you're playing it with more pace, but you never can tell with John whether he's going to play 1 cushion or not. Played it 2 cushions. Wow. I didn't expect for 1 minute he could miss
21.
that.
When you've risen to the pinnacle of the game, as John Higgins has managed to do, that kind of shot is a shock to the system, but at least it ran safe.
Needs to bounce off the cushion here for the pink to go onto the cushion. All this is worth the risk, but he's going to have to go up and down. He's going to have to play this at pace, go in and out of baulk. Can he get away with it for the second time? I think not.
And what we thought might be a demoralising blow for Ding is in fact a demoralising blow for John Higgins. It's 3-all.
Frame. Ding Junhui to break.
And there might be just a little thought in the back of Higgins' mind at some point. On his last professional tournament appearance in the Northern Ireland Trophy, last 32, he was 4-3 up against Fergal O'Brien, best of 9 frames, and O'Brien made a couple of centuries in the closing 2 to pip him at the post.
Great opening red from John. Had to use all of the pocket though to get the cue ball back into baulk. Played it as a shot to nothing.
Three.
We've got 5 loose reds, so a 40-point lead is looming large. Whether we can continue. I'm always a little bit reluctant to say it's a frame winning opportunity and match winning opportunity earlier on, because nerves come into it when you get to, you know, needing just one more frame. I think you're more keen on getting 40 or 50 points in front and then consider winning the frame. It's a different pressure when you get to the winning line. And there's a prime example. He's lost the cue ball already.
11.
And the white could not have really dropped in a more awkward situation than that. Good cueing.
Very good recovery. Very good recovery.
Of course, Scotland and China are happy sporting connection at the moment. Last weekend, Colin
19.
Montgomery and Mark Warren combined right here on Sky Sports to win the World Cup of Golf
20.
in China. Now, can Higgins make it more success for the flag of St Andrew?
That was the key shot there, wasn't it, to get the black
27.
free in both corner pockets, and not a great pack to go into if he decides to go into them from the black. We'll just see where he finishes first before we talk about what the possibilities are.
28.
He knows it's not a good pack. I mean, ideally he'd like to go into the middle red of the 3, but they could stick on those, so he may decide to play out for the loose red here. If you go into the bunch, you've got to stun into them. If you screw into them, it's no good. So play for the loose red, I think, is possibly the best choice here. This is the kind of pack where
35.
you're better going into them off the cushion first, so he doesn't have the angle to get onto that black this way this time, so he's going up for blue or baulk colour.
36.
Now, is there anything else available? There's a possible 2 cushion route into the bunch. He could play the blue that way. I don't think he's got the angle on the blue to go straight into them. I think he's called for a time out there, so he's given himself a little bit of time to see if anything pots. That's one option. He may have the option to just stun down into the pink off this. Well, he thinks he's found a red somewhere. The red below the pink obviously must pot in the middle, and that's an excellent positional shot if it does. There it is. Wasn't much of a gap to go through there, was it? But he needs to be dead straight on this. Can he roll it in and get onto the red that he's almost touching?
Extreme elevation of the cue. Well done. So easy to put an unwanted side on the cue ball and skew off the pink 48. In some way. That was hit well.
49.
He's now one shot away, one good positional shot away from making this an opportunity to win frame and match at this visit. Ideally he'd like to be on the black because he can get onto the 2 reds that are just above the black, into the same pocket as the black. There, the 2 reds. And now has a chance to win frame and match at this visit.
Have to admit, I thought that
56.
Ding, especially the way he played against Hendry at Glenrothes last week, would win this.
57.
But you don't win 2 world championships without being a class campaigner. And if he does go on to reach the final, I think the way he
64.
ignored that bitter disappointment of losing frame 6 will really stand him in good stead.
Yes, can agree with you more. It would have been a little bit of a
65.
battle scar going into next week's tournament should he have got beaten, because he has actually dominated the match, and from what we've seen could have easily lost it.
And this is frame ball.
Ding Junhui, of course, will carry on, so John Higgins really needs to pot another red if he can.
72.
I'd be surprised if he doesn't carry on, just needing the one snooker, but you never know with Ding Junhui.
John Higgins, 72.
72 points the lead, 67 on, so 2 4-point penalties will need to be extracted.
No risky long pot being played. Big target in behind the yellow here, so he's only playing the safety. And also look at the way the black's going. Never misses a trick. And appreciated by a proportion of the crowd there, knowing that he's purposely played to put the black safe. Very clever shot.
Super pot.
1.
But now the pink simply has to go.
Ding Junhui, 1.
There's the handshake. We're in Scotland, and a Scot is in the final of the PartyPets.com Premier League of 2007. It's the world champion, John Higgins, and he's pulled away from 3 frames each to beat Ding Junhui 5-3.